Hey there guys, Portal Master 9351 here. And in this video, I'm going to be talking to you guys about my personal thoughts about the brand new vehicles that are for the new superchargers in Skylanders Superchargers. So, just going to work my way down the list. First, I'm going to do the land vehicles, then the sky vehicles, and then the sea vehicles. So, let's get started. So, first up, we have Hot Streak, the starter pack vehicle. Honestly, it looks pretty cool. In my opinion, Hot Streak is pretty nice. I'm loving the supercharged version. It's a little too, I guess you could say, metallic for my taste. It looks too much like, I mean, I know it's not a normal car. It doesn't look like a normal car, but it's got too many normal features, in my opinion. I mean, like, if we go down the list and look at the most normal looking vehicles, let me just read down the list. Let me just look at these. Hot Streak, probably Sky Slicer, and maybe Thump Truck and Shield Striker are the most normal looking vehicles. Hot Streak is one of the most normal looking vehicles. Not a fan of that, but I do still like the design overall. Next up, we have Crypt Crusher. Crypt Crusher is pretty unique in that just kind of, you know, the way it's laid out and everything with the two tires in the back, the one in the front. I do kind of like the streamlined version of it where it gets, you know, tighter and tighter as it gets closer and closer to the front. And I do like the I love the design, and I do love that it's a coffin, for crying out loud. It's made out of a coffin. I mean, that's just pretty inventive in and of itself, and, you know, so yeah. Next up, we have Thump Truck. I've not seen a lot of Thump Truck, but it does just look like a giant, I guess you could say, well, yeah, I guess it's a bulldozer of sorts, kind of. It's not necessarily a truck. You know, when you think of a truck, you think, just a normal truck with like a truck bed, and that's not exactly what Thump Truck is. It's got, it doesn't have like a truck bed or anything. It's sort of, I don't really know how to describe it. It's more like a snow plow, sort of, but not snow plow colors. It's got a really big thing on the front that looks like it just could plow through anything, and so I don't really think they got the right name there. I really don't think Smash Hit and Thump Truck, I don't really think those names correspond with each other. I think they could have picked something better, but as far as the vehicle is concerned, it does look pretty interesting, and it does sort of look like a normal vehicle, which I don't entirely like, but I'll get over it. Next up, let's see on the list, Shield Striker. So, Shield Striker, we haven't seen much of it, but it honestly looks like a bumper car from what I've seen. It's very low. It's like a low rider, and it's not even like a traditional low rider. It would be more like if you took a car from the 60s and, you know, lowered the suspension and everything and made it real low to the ground. And it does, once again, have sort of a front that looks like it could just bulldoze anything, and it looks like a really sort of low, you know, streamlined, quick moving type of vehicle. Again, it does look a lot like an actual traditional vehicle would, so not entirely a fan of that, but it does look pretty kind of, from what I've seen, it looks kind of like retro, and I do kind of like that. So then we have Barrel Blaster. So, Barrel Blaster is pretty inventive, using barrels as the wheels, and it's not a motorcycle per se, but it's more like it's kind of a motorcycle. You know, it's only got the two wheels, but it's not raised, like Burn Cycle, for example. The middle is off the ground a good ways, like more like a motorcycle. Barrel Blaster is more like low to the ground, and I do kind of like that it is sort of a type of vehicle that we really don't have. We don't have a two-wheeled vehicle of sorts, and so that's, you know, low to the ground and looks more like a car. So I do think it is pretty cool that they made Barrel Blaster the way they did. So that's it for the land vehicles. Now let's move on to the sky vehicles. So Sky Slicer, once again, sort of does look like a traditional jet, but I do love the, it almost looks like a dart you could throw. I think that's pretty cool how it looks almost exactly like it's a dart that I could just pick up and throw, and it would, stick to something. It's very streamlined, and I do kind of like the Sky Slicer. It's just that's not the most inventive thing, but I guess it's excusable that they have a few vehicles that look normal per se. Let's see. Next up, Buzzwing. Buzzwing, one of my favorite vehicles of all. Buzzwing, the four-winged, almost bug-looking, I mean, obviously it's going to look like a bug, vehicle. I'm in love with it. It looks amazing, and I honestly know it's going to be a long time before I can buy it and get my hands on it, but oh my gosh, does it ever look amazing. I love it. I absolutely adore it. Sunrunner. Sunrunner is very unique, and it's very inventive, and I love what they did with it. It's almost like it's actually not almost like anything. It's really in and of itself quite unique. And I love the different colors and textures and that they put into the vehicle, and I'm also liking how it looks to be made out of several different types of plastic. Some of my favorite Skylanders are actually made out of different types of plastic, and if you don't know what I mean when I say different types of plastic, let me just pick one of these guys out real quick. That's a pretty good example of how they're made out of some different types of plastic. Let's look at these two guys, for example. If we look at Trigger Happy and Sprocket, it looks like they would weigh about the same, but Trigger Happy, if you know, Rocket Ride Trigger Happy, I think that's what he was called, he weighs more, or actually, I'm sorry, it's Big Bang Trigger Happy, I don't know why I thought that, and then Heavy Duty Sprocket, she's light as a feather, and if we tap, that's made out of a different type of plastic than Trigger Happy, and so, there's many different types of plastic, and Sunrunner has the type of plastic that it almost looks like the Traptanium is made out of from Trap Team. So I am pretty excited for Sunrunner and the different textures that's put into it. Let's see. Then we have Clown Cruiser, which might be my least favorite vehicle of all. In contrast to the Amiibo Lander Halflings, I like Bowser more than Donkey Kong, but as far as the vehicles are concerned, Barrel Blaster is so much better than Clown Cruiser. Clown Cruiser is ugly. It is so hideously, atrociously ugly. It's not attractive in the slightest, and it doesn't even look like it fits in the Skylanders universe. Its paint job does not make any sense, and it just needs to burn. Clown Cruiser just needs to burn. I can't stand Clown Cruiser. I don't understand why they couldn't have had something a little more inventive, or not even inventive, just something that looks good. It does not look good. It just doesn't. It's ugly. Rant. End rant. So, now onto the sea vehicles. So, Dive Bomber. I didn't talk about it, but Dive Bomber is probably the most... Well, actually, I'm not even sure if I could say that. But it is a little bit similar to, a traditional submarine. I mean, although, when you think about it, how much more inventive can you be with a submarine? I mean, if you think about it, we've had submarines for, let's see, this is 2015. They were used in, World War II at the very early... They may have been used in World War I. I know they were used in World War II, and that was in, the 40s, I think. I don't know my history well, so if that's wrong, then just feel free to correct me, because I don't know history. So, I mean, submarines are, 70 years old or something like that, and they've really not changed over 70 years. If we look at, submarines from then and submarines now, they're not any different. I mean, you can't really change submarines, and, so I guess I really don't have enough space to complain, but Dive Bomber, don't exactly like that it's sort of a more traditional type of vehicle, but nor the paint job, but I do kind of like the way they made it look. I just don't like the fact that they made it look like that, if that makes any sense whatsoever. If you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. Sea Shadow. Sea Shadow looks pretty cool, and it's obviously inspired, or at least its supercharged version, by an anglerfish, because it's got the tail thing that curls over and has the little bioluminescent, which is when life makes life, like a firefly, for example. tip at the end that's like an anglerfish, which if you don't know what an anglerfish is, it's basically this fish that lives very, very deep at the very bottom of the ocean, and it's got this little thing that dangles from its head that makes light, and it attracts fish, and when the fish get close to the light, it bites the fish. It eats the fish as they get attracted to the light. That's pretty much how an anglerfish works, and that's obviously what Sea Shadow's inspired by. And it's a very unique design, and I love the paint job on it, and Sea Shadow is really, really cool in my opinion. And then finally, we didn't really have too many sea vehicles. We have Splatter Splasher. And Splatter Splasher is, yes, it's a lot like a traditional boat. But the color scheme, I like the color scheme. And I really do like what they did with the color scheme. And so I'm happy about that. So I do like Splatter Splasher. Even though it's not the most inventive, I do still like it. Anyways, that is my personal thoughts for all of the new characters' vehicles. Soon up, or as in, I believe, let me check this list. Let's see, when am I doing it? Tomorrow, I'll be doing the my personal thoughts on the returning characters' vehicles, and so stay tuned for that. But for now, this has been Portal Master 9351. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time, everybody. Goodbye!